Ever wonder why some people seem wise beyond their years while others stay stuck in the same patterns, making the same mistakes? Here's the truth. Maturity isn't about age. It's about how you handle life, challenges, and relationships. We all know someone who refuses to take responsibility, reacts emotionally to everything, or avoids tough conversations. But real maturity? It's what separates the people who thrive from those who stay stuck. In this video, we're breaking down the 6 laws of maturity, the key principles that define emotionally intelligent, responsible, and growth-minded people. And trust me, law number 6, it's the hardest to master, but it will change everything for you. So stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what it takes to level up your mindset and take full control of your personal growth. Law 1, taking responsibility. Maturity begins with a fundamental shift in mindset, the ability to take full ownership of your choices, actions, and mistakes. Immature people often look for external factors to blame when things go wrong. They point fingers at their boss, their upbringing, bad luck, or even society for their failures. While external circumstances do play a role in life, the defining characteristic of a mature individual is their willingness to take accountability, no matter the situation. Taking responsibility isn't about self-blame or guilt. It's about recognizing that even when things happen beyond your control, your response is always within your power. Instead of focusing on what others did or didn't do, maturity means asking, what part did I play in this? What can I do to improve, change, or prevent this from happening again? Let's take a common scenario: career struggles. Imagine 2 people, person A and person B, who are both frustrated with their job situation. Person A constantly complains that their boss doesn't appreciate them, their coworkers are incompetent, and they never get the promotions they deserve. Every time they hit a roadblock, they blame external factors. My manager is terrible. The company is unfair. The economy is bad. That's why I'm stuck. They never stop to consider whether their own work performance, attitude, or lack of skill development might be contributing to their stagnation. Now, let's look at person B. Instead of blaming their boss or circumstances, they take responsibility for their career. They ask themselves tough but productive questions. Am I consistently delivering value? Have I communicated my goals to my boss? Do I have the skills necessary to advance? If not, how can I improve? Rather than waiting for someone to recognize their efforts, person B takes action. They enroll in courses to upskill, seek mentorship, and actively apply for better opportunities. If they don't get a promotion, they don't stew in resentment. They analyze what they could have done differently and prepare for the next opportunity. Over time, this mindset of responsibility leads them to greater success, while person A remains stuck, blaming the world for their lack of progress. The key difference between these 2 individuals is not intelligence, talent, or luck. It's mindset. When you take responsibility for your actions, you shift from a victim mentality to a problem-solving mindset. Instead of feeling powerless, you become empowered because you realize that your decisions shape your reality. This doesn't mean that everything is within your control, but it does mean that you are in control of how you react, adapt, and grow from every situation. One of the simplest yet most effective ways to develop this habit of responsibility is to start using the phrase, "This is on me. What can I do differently next time?" This phrase rewires your brain to seek solutions rather than excuses. The next time you face a setback, whether it's in your career, relationships, or personal goals, pause and ask yourself this question. If you lost a job opportunity, don't immediately blame the interviewer or the job market. Instead, reflect. Was I fully prepared? Did I communicate my strengths effectively? What skills can I work on to be a stronger candidate next time? This mindset shift is powerful because it removes the illusion that life is just happening to you and instead reinforces that you are an active participant in shaping your own path. When you make responsibility a habit, you stop waiting for external circumstances to change and start creating change yourself. And that's the first true sign of maturity. Law 2, controlling emotions. Instead of being controlled by them, emotional intelligence is one of the clearest signs of maturity. It's not about suppressing your emotions or pretending they don't exist. It's about understanding them, processing them, and responding in a way that aligns with your values and long-term goals. Immature people let their emotions dictate their actions. They lash out in anger when they feel criticized, withdraw completely when they feel hurt, or make impulsive decisions based on temporary feelings rather than logical thinking. They believe that because they feel a certain way, they must act on that feeling immediately. But mature individuals recognize that emotions are valid, yet they don't have to be in control. Instead, they practice emotional regulation, acknowledging what they feel, understanding why they feel that way, and choosing a response that serves them rather than harms them. Think about a common situation: receiving criticism. Imagine two people, person A and person B, both receiving feedback at work. Person A immediately takes the criticism as a personal attack. Their face turns red, their heart starts racing, and they fire back defensively. "That's not fair. I worked really hard on this." They leave the conversation fuming, replaying the feedback in their mind and convincing themselves that their boss is out to get them. They spend the rest of the day venting to coworkers or sulking, and instead of improving their work, they let their resentment grow. Now let's look at person B. When they receive the same piece of criticism, they feel the same initial emotional reaction: frustration, maybe even a little embarrassment. But instead of reacting impulsively, they take a deep breath and pause. They recognize that their emotions are valid, but remind themselves that they don't have to react instantly. They ask themselves, is this feedback actually helpful? Is there truth in it? How can I use this to improve? Instead of letting the criticism define them, they use it as a tool for growth. Later, they apply the feedback, and as a result, their skills improve, their performance increases, and they develop a stronger reputation for professionalism. The key difference between these two individuals is emotional control. Person A is ruled by their emotions, reacting without thinking and letting temporary feelings dictate long-term outcomes. Person B, however, understands that while emotions are real, they are not always reliable indicators of truth. They take a step back, analyze the situation logically, and respond in a way that benefits them in the long run. This ability to control emotions instead of being controlled by them is what separates emotionally mature people from those who struggle to handle life's challenges. If you want to develop emotional control, a simple yet powerful technique to practice is pause, process, respond. It's a three-step approach to handling emotions in a mature way. 1. Pause. The moment you feel a strong emotional reaction, whether it's anger, frustration, sadness, or anxiety, stop yourself from reacting immediately. This could mean taking a deep breath, stepping away from the situation, or simply counting to 10 in your head. The goal is to interrupt the automatic emotional response before it takes over. 2. Process. Ask yourself, why am I feeling this way? What triggered this reaction? Is my emotion justified, or am I misinterpreting the situation? This step helps you separate fact from feeling. For example, if someone criticizes you, are they attacking you personally, or are they pointing out something that could actually help you improve? Processing your emotions allows you to gain clarity before deciding on a course of action. 3. Respond. After you've paused and processed, you choose your response, not based on impulse, but based on what will serve you best. If you need to stand up for yourself, you do it calmly and assertively, rather than aggressively. If you need to walk away, you do so with self-respect, rather than avoidance. If you realize the situation isn't worth your energy, you let it go. The key is that you are in control, not your emotions. Practicing this technique consistently will transform the way you handle challenges, conflicts, and setbacks. Over time, you'll notice that situations that once triggered you no longer have the same power over you. Instead of being reactive, you'll become intentional. And that's the mark of true emotional maturity. Law 3. Seeking growth over comfort. One of the most defining traits of maturity is the willingness to embrace growth, even when it's uncomfortable. Immature individuals tend to prioritize ease, familiarity, and immediate gratification over long-term improvement. They stick with what feels safe, even if it's unfulfilling, because stepping into the unknown requires effort, resilience, and sometimes failure. On the other hand, mature people understand that real growth often comes with discomfort. They recognize that every skill they develop, every opportunity they pursue, and every meaningful change they make will require them to push through challenges rather than avoid them. Think about the people you know who feel stuck in life. Maybe they're in jobs they hate, relationships that no longer serve them, or routines that keep them stagnant. Instead of taking action to improve their situation, they make excuses. I can't quit this job. It's too risky. I'd love to start my own business, but I'm just not ready. I should exercise more, but I'm too busy. The truth is, they're not stuck because they lack talent, resources, or intelligence. They're stuck because they've chosen comfort over growth. Let's look at a real-life example. Imagine someone who has been working the same job for years. They don't love it, but they don't hate it enough to leave. It's predictable, the paycheck is steady, and they know what to expect. Deep down, though, they feel unfulfilled. They see colleagues moving up, switching careers, or starting businesses, and they wonder why they're still in the same place. They tell themselves that they're staying because it's the smart decision, but in reality, they're avoiding the discomfort of learning new skills, facing rejection, or taking risks. They stay in their comfort zone, not because it's good for them, but because it's easy. Now compare that to someone who prioritizes growth over comfort. Instead of accepting stagnation, they ask themselves, what would it take for me to move forward? Maybe they start taking online courses to build new skills. Maybe they set up networking meetings to explore other career paths. Maybe they apply for jobs even if they don't feel 100% qualified, knowing that stepping into something new will force them to learn and grow. The process is uncomfortable. There are rejections, setbacks, and moments of doubt. But over time, this person develops resilience, builds confidence, and opens doors that they never would have had access to if they had chosen to stay in their comfort zone. This principle applies to every area of life. In relationships, immature people avoid difficult conversations because they don't want to deal with temporary discomfort, even if it means long-term resentment builds up. Mature people, however, are willing to have tough conversations because they know that facing problems head-on leads to deeper connections and personal growth. In health, immature people choose short-term pleasure, junk food, skipping workouts, neglecting rest, over long-term well-being. Mature individuals, though, are willing to endure the discomfort of exercise, discipline, and healthier choices because they know the reward is worth it. The uncomfortable truth is that everything worth achieving in life requires some level of discomfort. Growth isn't supposed to feel easy. It's supposed to challenge you. If you're always choosing the path of least resistance, you're likely sacrificing your potential for the sake of temporary ease. The next time you find yourself avoiding something, whether it's a career change, a tough conversation, a new skill, or a major life decision, stop and ask yourself, am I avoiding this because it's genuinely bad for me or because it's hard? This question forces you to separate real concerns from fear-based avoidance. Some things truly aren't worth pursuing, and walking away is the right decision. But many times we convince ourselves that something isn't right for us simply because we don't want to deal with the discomfort of change. If the answer is that you're avoiding something just because it's hard, then that's your sign that growth is on the other side of discomfort. Push through. Take the first step. Lean into the challenge. Because at the end of the day, maturity isn't about finding the easiest path. It's about choosing the one that leads to real, lasting growth. Law 4. Thinking long-term. One of the biggest differences between maturity and immaturity is how a person makes decisions, whether they prioritize instant gratification or long-term success. Immature individuals tend to focus on what feels good right now, without considering the consequences that their choices will have in the future. They want immediate pleasure, fast results, and quick rewards, even if it means sacrificing their well-being, stability, or success later on. Mature individuals, on the other hand, recognize that meaningful progress requires patience, discipline, and the ability to delay gratification. They understand that short-term sacrifices often lead to far greater rewards down the road. This concept applies to every aspect of life: finances, relationships, career, health, and even personal development. Let's take finances as an example. Imagine two people, person A and person B, who both earn the same amount of money each month. Person A is focused entirely on the present. The moment they get paid, they start spending. New clothes, the latest gadgets, expensive nights out, and impulse purchases. They justify their spending with phrases like, "You only live once," or "I'll start saving later." But every month, when rent and bills are due, They're scrambling to cover their expenses, and when an unexpected emergency pops up, they have no financial cushion. As a result, they constantly feel stressed, stuck in a cycle of living paycheck to paycheck, never truly building financial security. Now let's look at person B. Instead of spending recklessly, they prioritize long-term financial health. They still enjoy their money, but they create a budget, set aside savings, and invest in their future. While their friends might be spending every dollar they earn, they understand that a little sacrifice today, like skipping unnecessary purchases or limiting impulse spending, can lead to financial freedom down the road. Over time, their savings grow, their investments compound, and they reach a point where they don't have to stress about money. They have the freedom to make choices that align with their goals, rather than being controlled by financial instability. The same principle applies to health. An immature mindset craves immediate pleasure, eating junk food, skipping workouts, staying up late watching TV, without considering how those choices affect future health. But a mature mindset values long-term well-being over temporary comfort. Choosing to exercise, eat nutritious foods, and get enough rest might not feel rewarding in the moment. But over time, those small decisions lead to increased energy, longevity, and a better quality of life. In relationships, immaturity often means seeking short-term excitement rather than long-term compatibility. Some people jump from one relationship to another, chasing the honeymoon phase, but avoiding the deeper work of building emotional connection, trust, and commitment. Mature individuals, however, recognize that strong relationships require patience, communication, and effort. Instead of running away at the first sign of conflict, they invest in resolving issues and growing with their partner, understanding that lasting love is built over time, not overnight. This principle even extends to career and personal development. Many people want success but aren't willing to put in the years of hard work it takes to achieve it. They want to be fit, but they don't want to exercise consistently. They want to be wealthy, but they don't want to learn about investing. They want to be successful, but they aren't willing to start at the bottom and work their way up. Maturity means understanding that real success is a long game. It's about making choices today that your future self will thank you for. A great way to train yourself to think long-term is to use the 10-10-10 rule whenever you're faced with a decision. Ask yourself, will this decision matter in 10 minutes? Short-term impact. Will it matter in 10 months? Mid-term impact. Will it matter in 10 years? Long-term impact. For example, let's say you're tempted to make an impulse purchase, a brand new gadget that you don't really need. In 10 minutes, it will feel exciting and satisfying. In 10 months, you might not even use it anymore, and that money could have been put towards something more valuable. In 10 years, that money, if invested wisely, could have contributed to financial security. By stepping back and considering the long-term consequences, you make better, more intentional choices. This rule applies to everything. Should you skip the gym today? Should you react emotionally in a heated argument? Should you stay up late watching Netflix instead of preparing for tomorrow? When you start applying the 10-10-10 rule, you gain perspective. You realize that many things that seem important in the moment won't matter long-term, and that true maturity comes from making decisions that align with your future, not just your feelings in the moment. At the end of the day, thinking long-term is what separates people who stay stuck from those who build lasting success. The choice is yours. Chase short-term gratification or invest in long-term fulfillment. The more you choose the latter, the more mature, successful, and fulfilled you'll become. Law 5. Handling conflict with maturity. Conflict is an inevitable part of life. No matter how much we try to avoid it, disagreements will arise in relationships, friendships, workplaces, and even within ourselves. The way we handle these conflicts, however, is what separates immaturity from maturity. Immature individuals tend to react in two extreme ways, either with aggression or complete avoidance. Some lash out in anger, resorting to yelling, blaming, and attacking the other person instead of working toward a solution. Others run from conflict entirely, choosing to ignore the problem rather than face an uncomfortable conversation. But neither of these approaches leads to resolution, growth, or stronger relationships. Mature individuals, on the other hand, understand that conflict isn't something to be feared or fought, it's something to be navigated. They approach disagreements with the goal of resolution rather than winning, They recognize that handling conflict maturely isn't about proving who's right or wrong, but about creating understanding, setting boundaries, and finding a path forward that respects both parties involved. Instead of reacting impulsively based on emotion, mature people take the time to think through their response, communicate clearly, and listen with an open mind. Let's take a common example: a friendship disagreement. Imagine two friends, Person A and Person B, who have been close for years. One day, Person A feels that Person B has been distant, canceling plans and not making an effort in the friendship. Instead of addressing the issue directly, Person A starts feeling resentful. They assume Person B no longer values the friendship, and rather than talking it out, they choose to ghost them, ignoring texts, avoiding interactions, and slowly fading out of the friendship. In their mind, they justify it by saying, if they cared, they would reach out more. But the reality is no resolution happens, just silence, misunderstandings, and a lost friendship. Now let's look at a mature response. Instead of avoiding the issue, Person A decides to communicate their feelings openly. They reach out and say, "Hey, I've been feeling like we haven't been connecting as much lately, and I miss how things used to be. Is something going on?" This opens up a conversation rather than shutting one down. Person B, who may have been dealing with personal struggles or stress, now has the opportunity to explain their side. Instead of assumptions and silent resentment, both friends gain clarity and have the chance to work through the problem together. The same principle applies in professional settings. In the workplace, immature individuals handle conflict by gossiping about coworkers, sending passive-aggressive emails, or refusing to address issues directly. Mature professionals, on the other hand, approach disagreements with professionalism and emotional intelligence. If there's a misunderstanding, they seek a calm discussion rather than escalating the situation. If they need to give or receive constructive criticism, they do so in a way that promotes improvement rather than personal attack. Romantic relationships are another place where conflict management is crucial. Immaturity in relationships often looks like yelling, blaming, or shutting down when disagreements arise. Couples who handle conflict immaturely tend to sweep issues under the rug, let resentment build, and allow misunderstandings to fester. Mature couples, however, approach conflict with the understanding that arguments aren't about winning or losing, they're about understanding and resolution. Instead of escalating tension, they communicate openly, listen actively, and work together to find common ground. One of the most effective ways to handle conflict maturely is by using I statements rather than accusations. When tensions are high, it's easy to fall into the trap of blaming the other person. "You never listen to me. You always make everything about yourself. You don't even care about how I feel." These kinds of statements put the other person on the defensive, making resolution nearly impossible. Instead of focusing on the issue, the conversation turns into a battle of who's right and who's wrong. But when you shift your language to I statements, you express your feelings without placing blame. For example, instead of, "You never listen to me," say, "I feel unheard when I try to share something important, and I'd really appreciate if we could talk about it." Instead of, "You always cancel plans last minute," say, "I feel disappointed when plans change unexpectedly because I really look forward to our time together." Instead of, "You don't care about how I feel," say, "I feel hurt when my feelings aren't acknowledged, and I'd love to work on better communication together." This approach keeps the conversation open and productive rather than combative. It encourages the other person to listen rather than defend themselves. It also shows emotional intelligence, the ability to express your feelings clearly while still being considerate of the other person's perspective. When you practice handling conflict in a mature way, you strengthen your relationships rather than damage them. You build trust instead of resentment. You create an environment where people feel safe to express themselves, knowing they will be heard rather than attacked. Conflict doesn't have to be destructive. It can be a tool for deeper understanding and stronger connections when handled with wisdom and emotional maturity. At the end of the day, conflict is not something to be feared, but something to be mastered. The more you refine your ability to handle difficult conversations with grace, patience, and understanding, the stronger and more resilient you become. And that's what true maturity looks like. Law 6. Prioritizing principles over popularity. True maturity is not just about how you handle responsibilities, emotions, growth, long-term thinking, or conflict. It's also about who you choose to be when faced with external pressure. One of the hardest tests of maturity is standing firm in your values. even when it's uncomfortable, unpopular, or inconvenient. Immature individuals tend to prioritize approval, acceptance, and validation from others, often at the cost of their own integrity. They conform to expectations, go along with the crowd, and make decisions based on what will make them liked, rather than what aligns with their core beliefs. But mature individuals understand that while popularity is temporary, character is permanent. They prioritize principles over popularity, even when it means standing alone. This principle plays out in everyday life in ways both big and small. Think about how often people bend their morals to fit in. Maybe it's a workplace scenario where everyone is cutting corners, inflating numbers, or engaging in unethical behavior to look good in front of the boss. The easy choice, the popular choice, is to go along with it. After all, speaking up might make you seem difficult, and refusing to play along could cost you opportunities. But the mature person understands that integrity is worth more than temporary advantages. They know that sacrificing principles for short-term approval will only lead to long-term regret, so even if it means being the only one to do the right thing, they hold their ground. The same applies in friendships and social situations. Imagine a group of friends gossiping about someone who isn't there, tearing them down behind their back. The easy choice is to nod along, laugh, or even contribute to fit in. But the mature choice is to walk away or even say, "I don't feel right talking about them like this." It might not make you the most popular person in the moment, but it reinforces who you are at your core, someone who values integrity over shallow approval. This struggle is especially real in the digital age, where social media thrives on validation. Many people shape their opinions, actions, and even personalities based on what will get them the most likes, followers, or praise. But mature individuals resist the urge to live for external validation. They aren't afraid to have an unpopular opinion if they believe in it. They don't need everyone's approval because they are secure in their own values. They understand that authenticity is more valuable than mass appeal, and they would rather be respected for standing firm than be liked for blending in. Another example of this principle in action is the choice between honesty and flattery. In both personal and professional life, people often tell others what they want to hear rather than what they need to hear because they fear conflict or rejection. Imagine an employee who watches their coworker make a serious mistake but chooses not to address it because they don't want to upset them. Or a friend who avoids telling someone the truth about their self-destructive behavior because they don't want to risk damaging the friendship. The immature choice is to avoid discomfort by staying silent or sugarcoating the truth. The mature choice is to speak with honesty, kindness, and integrity, even if it's difficult. Maturity means understanding that doing what's right will not always make you popular, but it will make you trustworthy. People may not always agree with you, but they will respect you for being honest, principled, and unwavering in your values. Over time, this builds deeper, more authentic relationships, ones based on real trust rather than surface-level approval. A powerful way to keep yourself aligned with this principle is to regularly ask yourself this question: am I making this decision because it's right or because I want approval? Before agreeing to something, before giving in to pressure, before making a tough choice, pause. Examine your motivation. If you're doing something just to gain approval, avoid conflict, or please others at the cost of your principles, reconsider. If you're doing it because it aligns with your values, then stand firm, no matter how unpopular it may be. This small habit can completely shift the way you approach life. It gives you the clarity to recognize when you're being swayed by external pressure and the strength to choose integrity over easy validation. It reinforces that who you are is more important than how many people approve of you. At the end of the day, maturity isn't about being liked by everyone. It's about being someone you can respect. It's about knowing that you stood by your values, even when it was hard. And when you live with that level of authenticity, the right people, the ones who truly matter, will respect you for it. Because while popularity fades, character lasts forever. Maturity isn't something you achieve overnight. It's a lifelong process of growth, learning, and making intentional choices that shape who you become. Today, we broke down the 6 key laws of maturity: taking responsibility for your actions instead of blaming others, controlling your emotions rather than being controlled by them, choosing growth over comfort, thinking long-term rather than chasing instant gratification, handling conflict with wisdom and understanding, and standing by your principles even when it's unpopular. The truth is, maturity isn't about knowing everything. It's about continuously evolving, learning from mistakes, and doing the right thing even when it's hard. Now, I want to hear from you. Which of these 6 laws hit home the most for you? Drop a comment below and let's talk about it. And if this video added value to your life, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss another one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.